Welcome everyone to the next edition of the Stay on Course podcast. I'm so excited today to have David Kirkpatrick. He's an expert in reading and comprehension. David helps entrepreneurs achieve their goals and reach their full potential, and he founded the 1% Readers and has assisted over 100 entrepreneurs in enhancing their reading speed, comprehension, and recall through his personalized techniques. Welcome, David, to the Stay on Course podcast.
Hey, I'm so glad to be here, Julie. For those who don't know, watching, we met in a lobby at a hotel, right?
That sounds like a very interesting way to meet.
I
Yes, we
know.
did at the Patrick Bet David conference. I thought it was a great time and so excited to have you here on the podcast. Before I get started, I ask all of my guests, what is your favorite food?
I'm so basic. It's not gonna be amazing, but it's fundamental. I'm a Texan at heart, so I love a burger, a good burger. Look, I get my bread, I get my protein, I get my I had sauerkraut now because it's so
Sauerkraut
good for digestive health.
on a burger.
Oh yeah,
Oh no, I've never tried that. I love sauerkraut. I love it on a hot dog. I never thought about putting it on a burger.
it's good.
All right, this is a new thing. This could be the new it thing.
And then second, under burger, because I have to have it with it, because I love myself. I treat myself well. Sweet potato fries cooked in beef tallow.
Oh,
Yeah,
do you do that at home or is that like,
I do that at home.
okay, cool. All
Yeah.
right. Well, David, I think what you are doing is fantastic. I am an avid reader, and I think that there's so much to be learned from books. I think it's the thing that sets you apart from just being ordinary. So, why did you get into this? Tell us a backstory of how you got into all of this.
Great question. If I had a dollar for every time I got asked that, 'cause people are like, what are you doing? Like, I've never heard of this. Honestly, it really came up by accident. Came up by accident. I was never that kid in kindergarten one day that was like, you know what? I want to do speed reading and memory coaching. Never. No, not a thing. I realized the power of knowledge when I didn't have it, but I had the motivation and I had the action and I put in the time and still got no results. That infuriated me. And here's why. I remember getting out of school, getting out of college, seeing all my friends get the dream job, the job that I wanted. I wasn't getting anything. I just had an empty slate, and I was like, what's wrong with me? I moved back in with my parents. I remember my dad is like, what are you doing here? But it's just the situation, man. And I remember it took me a year and a half to get the job with the degree I wanted. I was very stubborn. Like so many times people were saying, you should just give up. That's obviously not for you. And at one point living out of my car just because I couldn't keep up with my parents. Like I couldn't stay there. But I remember hitting rock bottom and my friend just gave me two books that changed my life, changed my mindset. And then from there, and what got me over the edge was like, you know what? I'm tired of applying for jobs. My eyes are burning because I'm always on the internet anyway. But a book was just so refreshing and so energizing. And then later I find out reading is actually 300% more effective at stress reduction. So I was like, wow, so that's why my brain kind of got like a little addicted to it because I was on the internet so much. And then I read a handful of books that get me actually double the salary. So even though I was a year and a half behind, I was actually 3 years ahead because for my friends to go up the ladder to get that much, I was already ahead there in terms of income. But then I'm like, you know what? So during that time, I had a business like video game fail because I was in video games. And the only reason that failed, the game was good. Everything was good. The people were good. Knowledge of business was not there. Knowledge of leadership, non-existent. Knowledge of maybe even raising money if we had to, not there. So it failed. So that was like my dream video game. I'm going to revive it someday. But I know that failed because we just had a lack of knowledge. And so those couple instances paired with me being that kid in fifth grade that flunked, and then I had to share the same grade with my brother, which totally like embarrassed me. So embarrassing. Oh my gosh. Like, man, that used to like, you know, that thing that you'd feel cellularly in your body embarrassing. I don't feel that anymore, but that used to be most of my life. Because people would ask, well, is that your twin brother? I was like, no, I'm just the stupid older brother at that point. So all that collection really lowered my self-esteem in terms of education, want to learn. But to wrap it up here, when I got that full-time job, I told myself, never, I don't want to let knowledge stop me from action or just from winning. So I read 70 books in 1 year with that full-time job, but then got laid off. But by that point, I was happy that when they laid me off, I remember I was like pretending to be sad when they laid me off on that Zoom call because it's like, well, I've read so many stories at this point where people have been in way more dog shit situations. And yeah, that last call I was just on was with a guy who has like 9 pizza shops. He wants me to train like 15 of his leaders because he knows reading will increase his top line revenue. So that's my little story
I love
in
it.
a nutshell.
David, what were the two books that you read that changed your life? I need to know.
Yeah, it is super basic, bread and butter. It was just Think and Grow Rich and Rich Dad Poor Dad. Might be
Oh,
basic to the people watching, but for me, that wasn't even in my world. That wasn't even in my wheelhouse.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I have Think and Grow Rich. I don't have Rich Dad Poor Dad. So now I have to go get that one. No.
Do you? I would only, you're already so far ahead that the only reason you would read it is because so you could connect with other people that
I
are
have read
earlier.
it. Yeah.
That's the only
No.
reason to read it.
And books are so okay. So I have my little book story, by the way. I'm just going to tell it really fast,
Please.
okay? Because I gotta tell you this. When I was 32 years old, I had a very unfortunate moment
Mhm.
where I found out my husband was leaving me, and I had just given birth to a 9 month old daughter.
Oh, man.
She was nine
Yeah.
months old when I found out my marriage was ending. And so this was a very, very difficult time in my life. And I joke about this, but what changed my life was reading The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Wow.
So I went to a class and they basically told me two things. They told me you need to be proactive, focus on what you can control. And my life was totally out of control. I didn't even know what the heck to do with what was just given to me because my parents were living in Florida and my life was in New Jersey and I was all by myself with a 9 month old kid. And I was like, this wasn't the life that I was going to have.
Yeah.
And so I had this like other piece to the story where when he left and after I took that class, I was like, okay, I don't know how to do my life right now. But my mother said to me, she goes, Julie, I don't know how to help you, but I'm sure you'll find the answer in a book. That's what she said to me. She goes, you will find the answer in a book. So
Mhm.
I literally became obsessed. I'm not kidding. I went to the bookstore and that was my escape from life. I would go to the bookstore and I would read books. I turned my ex-husband's side of the bed into a self-help library. And I became the one that was reading because I knew after I took that 7 Habits class, it was about beginning with the end in mind. And I said to myself, if I am going through this problem right now, then I am going to help other people. If I can get through this, then I'm going to figure out how to get through this and do it well. Read all the books I need to read to get through it. And then it just kind of continued this way that I became obsessed with reading books. But not only that, I would read the books and I would pull out the important information so that I could teach other people. And so it's been this constant thing where I've been learning, 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 learning so that now one day I can do what I'm doing right now. So I want to tell you my backstory as to why I'm so passionate about books because I love I feel like we're geeking out right now.
Wow. I never knew that. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
That's
So and the thing is books are that thing. Like and I think you know this better than anyone, David. It's like, okay, every book has some sort of nugget there's like one or two things that you're going to take away, right? There's not like tons of information. You can't possibly remember all of that information, but it's the one or two things that you take from each of those books that I think is amazing.
And one thing I encourage people to do is read a couple books on memory because reading, you're filling up your bucket, but your bucket might have some holes. You may not fully understand memory. So the thing with memory as well, and I think a book called Ready, Fire, Aim, which Alex Hormozy talks about, is the power of your subconscious and unconscious in decision making. So let's say you're talking to this guy, he's an expert in business 30 plus years. He can't consciously pull all the hundreds of thousands of books that he's read. Maybe he's read thousands. But since he did read that, that has now trained his gut, aka intuition, aka subconscious, unconscious, because the conscious mind can only process so many bits of information, but all the rest can process it. So the guys that do know what they're doing, they'll listen to their gut. They're into so the intuition is that supercomputer, and I see books really, really helping with that.
All right, so is this what you told me about this thing called compound knowledge? Is that what you're talking about?
That's just one facet of it, yes.
Can you explain that a little bit to us?
Yeah, so all the time, because I struggled with this too, you'd hear Warren Buffett say, read books because it helps you compound knowledge. So, one aspect of compounding knowledge with reading is that, let's say, your knowledge comprehension increases. So, just simply look at a doctor. If he reads this textbook, how much does he get out of it compared to you? Way more because he has the mental models and vocabulary to digest it. Let's say Julie has read over 10 marketing books and then reads her 11th. She will get more out of that book than you with your first one. So Stephen Kotler, who's a world-class high performance coach who talks about, so he's founded the Flow Research Collective where they improve focus, flow states, all these things. And he calls it, well, you need to get past uh, the dumb tax, which is the first five books of any topic or industry. Get past those. Now you're going to see compounding results with what I mentioned, comprehension.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So that's just one facet of it, compounding knowledge. That your first book, not so much. Second book, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, you get more for your time.
I got you. I am understanding what you're saying. And from what I'm hearing is that like there's a little more context to what you're reading. And there just is so much information. How many books do you need to read in one of those lanes to become an expert?
Depends how you define expert, right? I'm very results driven. So I've read books like right here called The Science of Reading, and I've read over thousands of pages of research on this exact topic.
Oh,
And no one could really answer what is like true reading comprehension. I keep it simple. It's not, oh, you could answer some questions after you read a book. It's, did you apply it? Did it improve your life? I'm in the
uh-huh.
nonfiction space. I'm not in the fiction space because I have this on my wall right there. My learning creates improved behavior. So if I'm not taking action, I read books that help me take action.
Okay.
Right? So many people say, I don't want to be a book reader but not take action. Those are not mutually exclusive, right? Just read books that help you take action. Explore the blocker. What is it? Do you need an accountability partner? Maybe that's it, but that's in a book and you're not applying it. That's your fault, not the book's fault.
You know, David, it's funny because a lot of these books, I have some of them here. Okay. This one is called Immunity to Change. I don't know if you've ever heard of this book. It's by Robert Keegan. Have you heard of Immunity to Change?
No, I haven't.
Okay. This is a little bit about like what are the things that are blocking you. It is a very difficult book to read. It's almost like
Hmm.
textbook kind of work.
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting because one thing I noticed about what I've been able to do is because I have so much contextual like knowledge, right? I could pick up this book and pick out like what I need to learn from it or what I need to teach other people from it because I have the context about how it fits into the other pieces, you know? And so that's kind of like what I've been doing. And I know you teach a speed reading class. I want to learn a little, I want us to talk about that a little bit. But I'm not reading the whole book. I'm kind of skimming through to feel out what is important for my audiences because I do a lot of teaching, a lot of facilitating. And so every week I'm on calls where I'm teaching people something. And so sometimes I'm looking for fresh information. I go to my books, I go to my library, and I'm like, okay, what can I pull out? Or what can I learn new from somebody else? So I think that's for me. But like, what do you suggest people do for entrepreneurs, especially because we're talking to entrepreneurs? I would say like, what are the ingredients for success? This is the topic of the day. Is like, what are those ingredients for success for them to create the habit of reading?
Gotcha. To create the habit of reading. There are a good couple things that block you. But the biggest issue, that I hear all the time is I can't find the time to read.
Yeah.
Right. So this statement that you have might actually be real or is just a smokescreen for something bigger. So one, you can't find the time to read because this used to be me. It'd take me 5 hours to read what takes someone else 1 hour. All right. So in the
Ah,
1920s, Edmund Burke Huey noticed a 4-to-1 discrepancy of how can this person naturally read 4 times faster than this person? 4-to-1 ratio. How
yeah.
do they do that? And there are 6 observed traits of skilled readers that I like came up with that really help them. But once again, just know that you can't find the time to read because you're just not training or you have some blockers that we need to find. All right. And then the other people that do have a good reading speed, maybe they're fast. I can't find the time to read. Those blockers, they associate pain. They have a pain to pleasure ratio that's way off. Or their reading motivation is just down the tank, or simply just dopamine. You don't see your book as a source of dopamine, but you sure as hell see your phone as one. If you can't find the time to read, show me your screen time. I'm sure I can find your reading time there. So obviously time is not the problem, but if we can make reading a more
Time is
enjoyable
not the
process.
problem. Sorry, I'm just going to interrupt you there. Time is
Yeah,
not the problem. Everyone's TikToking. Everyone's doing this with their finger. Come on. That's all I
yeah,
have to say.
yeah. No, that's great. So now we move it to how do we make it exciting and motivating? Now you're past that, you don't have the time. So if we look at just habit books, how could you set up the cue, the routine, the reward, simply, and then we can get into some tips possibly. Where do you leave your book? Do you leave it on top of your laptop? Routine is just, do you read just 10 pages a day with a timer? Set a timer. You don't check your phone to make sure you didn't miss a meeting. And 3, what is your reward? I don't care if it's coffee or a walk. Maybe you get to touch your husband, pet him on the head. Maybe that's your reward. I don't know. So setting that up is really important.
I like that. I like that. And yeah, if it's in front of you, just like the food in the refrigerator, right? If it's there, if it's in front of me, I'm going to eat it probably. But, if I don't know that it's there, I mean, that's a bad example maybe. But yes, I think. And I think where for me, where I'm going to read is usually I read on the weekends and at night. So before I go to bed or on the weekends, sometimes
Mhm.
I'll wake up on a Saturday morning, I'll sit with my coffee and I'll read for a couple hours because I have a purpose to my reading. So how about having a purpose for your reading? Do you talk about that?
So that's a great point. And that's where that's actually a secret motivation booster, comprehension booster. Why are you motivated in the first? You're surely motivated to eat, feed your body. How about eat to feed your mind in
Yeah.
one of the best ways possible? Okay, so some people might say, I'm an audible learner. That's why I don't read. I'm just not a reader. Look at decades of learning research that have proven your learning style is just a myth. The real answer is using as many learning styles as possible, using visual, kinesthetic, audio, spatial. That will help memory be improved. So
Yes.
motivation, this is what an exercise I do with people is let's look at the 6 human needs that drive human behavior that Tony Robbins talks about. How do we tie that to reading? And I could say the 6 right now because I haven't memorized. You want me to share them?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Perfect. So certainty at the bottom of the pyramid. How does reading help make life more secure, maybe comfortable? Things are consistent, maybe a consistent source of income. How does reading tie to that? Is that your main driver? 2, uncertainty and variety. Life is boring. You want to improve it. You want to spice things up. You want to be able to talk to more people, understand more ideas. You're okay with a little bit of risk. How do books support that if that is your main driver? Third, significance. Maybe you want more brand. Maybe you want to talk to more people. Maybe you want to be recognized for the work that you've done. How does reading improve the significance?
Mm.
4, love, relationships, love, love. How do you get that? By reading more. 5, growth. How do you achieve more growth through reading? How do you become a whole different person because of reading? Is that your main driver? And then last one is contribution. How can you contribute to your community and all those people? So that's what I ask people because that's the really, really first thing. Because if you could look at a book, if we could find 6 books for you where if you looked at it and you're like, that book will make me $10,000, you might be more excited to read it. But not me, and many people are asking that question. What book that if I read it, or maybe even just read one chapter of it, the right chapter, made me 10,000 more dollars?
Yeah, it's true. Like, this is what we were just talking about. So I have been working in my business and now I'm teaching sales accountability to my business coaching clients. And I was feeling a little like, I've taught a lot of subjects because I'm
Mhm.
a teacher, right? And so what I do is I learn information and then I teach it
Yeah.
and we apply it. So one of the topics I was kind of struggling with was sales. Like I'm like, oh, I haven't really read a lot of sales books. So I started, getting, and you inspired me a little bit to do this, David, because I was like, I got to get reading again. And so I went online and I got these books and I spent the weekend reading the book and remembering some of the things that I was doing in
Yeah.
my business that I just forgot to do. I got
Mhm.
lazy. I got totally lazy. And when I read it, there was this thing called bridging, and it's in sales EQ. It's this idea of bridging. So you take a client from where they are in their mind, like you do an
Yeah.
exercise to where they want to be, and you bridge the gap for what that is. And and I forgot that I was doing that with people because what you want to do when you're sharing your business is you want to make sure that they understand the value of what you're doing. They
Yeah.
can't understand the value until you take them through that process.
Yeah.
Now, the book reminded me that that's what I needed to do. It was in the book. They taught it in a different way than I had been saying what it was, but it was a coaching technique that I've been using. They're calling it bridging. I didn't know that it was called that, but it's the same technique, right? So I was able to start using this and I'm going to start using it more. But I was able to get some leverage with one of my potential new clients by actually implementing this thing. So it is so important to stay current. And when you feel a little bit of a deficiency, go find the book. Otherwise, I mean, you can hire somebody like you or me or, I do business coaching with people. I'll help you all day long, but that's expensive. It's way cheaper to go buy a book if you can, right? Instead of hiring a coach. But I'm not saying that a coach isn't something that you need. You need the accountability. You do need a thinking partner and all that stuff. But I'm saying if you need a fix and you need to fix something right away, go find that book. And what I did was I searched on Amazon. I actually did this. What are the top 10 sales books written? And I picked 2 of those books from there. So that's my little story.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, I learned early on that sales is the blood of any business. And I remember having such a tough time with telling, even just convincing people that they can improve their reading speed, improve their memory, even just for $0. So I just started with the transfer of belief. Sales is the transfer of belief. And can you do that for $0? That's where I start. That's where I tell everyone to start each thing.
Mm, yeah. And it's about developing a relationship over a little bit of time. It depends like how what the item is you're selling. I notice that I sell higher ticket items, so I need to spend a little bit more time with people, getting to know them, building that relationship. But I think a lot of this stuff can be learned in books,
Yeah.
but it is not just one book. It's a bunch of books.
Yeah.
And so, as business owners, and I think this is like the key takeaway here, as CEOs, founders, entrepreneurs, whatever you're doing, we are sitting in a space of wearing multiple hats. And in those multiple hats, if you haven't gone to go get an MBA, I have a master's degree in business. Okay. I went to go get the degree, right? And I learned something in that program that is invaluable, right? It's this idea that I don't need to be the expert, but I know I need to know how to hire the experts. But I
Mm,
also need to understand enough about that lane to speak on it.
yeah.
So you don't have to be the expert at everything, but you need to know just this much. And so I think that that is the power of reading for small business entrepreneurs, CEOs, and all of those people because they need to know that stuff.
And that's so true because so many industries I've noticed if you don't have a lick of knowledge of, let's say, the marketing, the sales, or that industry, how are you supposed to hire the expert versus the novice? How are you going to spot that? Right? So let's look at billionaires. Let's say I'm a billionaire. Let's say I'm Elon Musk. I'm trying to hire someone in marketing. 90% of the people he's going to talk to, he probably has better marketing experience, better marketing knowledge. He's going to talk to them, ask maybe two questions, and he already knows that this person isn't it. This person doesn't cut it. That's the crazy thing.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It is interesting because I think if you have the guts to be a CEO and you have the the resilience and the ability to sit in that
Yeah.
seat, then you're gonna at least be curious enough to learn. You
Mm,
have to be curious. I think that's the bottom line. As CEOs, we need to be curious. We need to really start thinking about how we're going to learn some of the things that we need to know because it's not just enough to want to do it. You still have to learn how to do it.
absolutely. Next potential topic, and I'll let you choose. We could share some tips either on reading speed, reading comprehension, or memory, or try to hit all three.
Oh, this is hard for me. You pick one. You pick one.
Yeah. Well, first, let's talk about memory. One
Okay.
of my favorite things. That's like in the marketing scheme of things in my business, the most important thing that people really, really like. So everyone asks, why do I fall asleep when I read? Couple reasons. One, you're reading so slow that you're putting your brain to sleep. You're not feeding it enough information.
Oh.
So it also could be your energy is awful. But if you are getting good sleep, so many people I talk to, they're getting good sleep, they're excited, but as soon as they start to read, fall asleep.
Hmm.
You might also have an association with reading and sleeping because you only read before you go to bed. But if you're reading slowly, like think about it. If you're driving in traffic slowly, what are you thinking about? You're not thinking about driving. You're driving fast in the mountains, in the hills, turn after turn after turn. What are you thinking about? You're just focused on the road.
Yeah.
So reading can be the same, which is why I call it speed reading. But for some of those people that think speed reading doesn't work or isn't reading, speed reading is just efficient reading at the end of the day. Because someone out there, everyone agrees that there's a naturally fast reader out there in the world. He may not even know he's a fast reader, but he's faster than you. and doesn't have to think about it. Okay. So one thing that I did in yesterday's live training, which I showed 100 hours worth of reading, which is just 30 minutes a day for a little over 6 months. So based on your reading speed, you either read in 100 hours over 6 months, 58 books, 38 books, 25 books, 20 books, or 12. And when I say 12 books, that's 12 audiobooks.
Uh-huh.
All right. When I say 20 books, that's 238 words per minute. That's most people. Um, 25 books in 100 hours, that's about audiobook 2 times speed, right? 400 words per minute, 38 books, which is double most people. That's around the range. I think high level executives are out, some of them around that range, according to Forbes. And then last stack, uh, over 600 words per minute. So I just share that to give people an idea of what your next 6 months of reading could look like and why we see a connection with reading speed and you not falling asleep.
Mm.
Okay, so now let's get into the memory side of things connected to speed reading. I can share some memory tips. A lot of us think, well, if I read faster, I'm going to forget it. With your current techniques, sure. But when we see people who push their reading a little bit, their working memory is strengthened and improved. What is working memory? Working memory is the whiteboard of your brain, the short-term memory that you use to make decisions or listen to this conversation right now. Okay, so there's an interesting study that they share where they test working memory, and this is from a book called Peak Mind, I believe. They put a bunch of people in a movie theater, right? And you're watching a horror movie, but they tell you you cannot express any emotion at all. You just have to sit there. You can't express fear, happiness, anger, anything. But some people could not control it. They had to express. And so they look at those people. All those people had smaller working memories, a smaller whiteboard in their brain. Why? Because the movie was taking up so much of their working memory space. Those emotions had to go somewhere, and it was expressed in their body. So when we read more and read faster, you're expanding your whiteboard, which improves your decision-making capabilities. It
Oh,
helps you read other people's body language a little more because you get a lot of information going on with people's face, what's going on. So that's what I encourage people to explore,
oh,
what
that's interesting.
pushing
Wow.
your reading could do for your just your working memory.
Yeah.
We're not even talking about long-term memory right now.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure it helps you understand complex problems and complex situations in like a totally different way.
Big time.
Yeah.
Big time. So a couple things that I'll share. I'll share three memory tips, and then let me quickly share some speed reading tips, and then I'll see if I could talk about the 9 comprehension blockers. It's funny, like, see, we're packing the end with
Yeah,
all
I have
the
like we have a few minutes before the end, so
2 minutes, and then we're done. Then we're
yeah.
done. So fundamental memory acronym MARIE. Motion, MARIE, motion, association, repetition, imagination, emotion. So what if your memory was so good you didn't need 5 times to review something with flashcards? You could just do it in the first time.
Yeah.
And then that drop off is minimized because you're using techniques like this. All right, so you could look that up. Next acronym for books, PQRST. So I met a crazy speed reading billionaire, and he loves this one. Preview the books through book summaries or reviews or just skimming and scanning.
Mm-hmm.
Questions. Can you come up with questions that actually boost your comprehension and help your reticular activating system be activated? Too many people ask the book no questions. They just take the book recommendations as
Right.
is. You actually need a question slash interrogate the book. Should I even read this book? Will it actually improve my life? Okay.
Yeah.
You read first. Why don't you just start reading the most exciting chapters? You struggle with reading motivation, just read the most exciting ones. For S and T, summarize, I'd recommend with the video, T, and then test within your company or book club. So that's PQRST. Last one is the Memory Palace. Go ahead and just Google that. I've used that to memorize the 15 chapters of Think and Grow Rich and the 17 different levels of consciousness, which help me increase my emotional regulation and emotional intelligence. And just, I thought it was really cool. Um, I could, I don't want to flex on the 17 and we don't have enough time anyway. I would tell you them. Chapter 11 of Thinking Rich, sexual transmutation. There you go. So speed reading tips, basic speed reading tips. Okay, and I'll share one advanced one after. Number one, do you use a pen or a finger to guide your eyes as you read, left to right? Basic ones. There are more advanced ones, but we're not doing that. Two, most people look at each individual word as they read, but that's more left-brained, slow. It doesn't spark our imagination as much as looking at groups of words and phrases. If you didn't know, your eyes actually jump. They've tracked this. They used to rub cocaine on people's eyes to be able to track your eyes. Your eyes actually jump around on the page. Skilled readers know how to manage their eye jumps properly to maximize the amount of words you get. And then last step is try to reduce the voice in your head. Don't eliminate it, reduce the voice in your head. And this last exercise, and then we're done here, we'll do that, the bonus exercise I talked about, which is the no reading exercise. All you need to do is look at the words on the page, but don't let your brain read it. Act like they're just symbols, okay? So you're going to notice your brain will still read it anyway. But
Mm.
as you do this exercise, you'll notice that your voice was completely silent. Your mouth didn't move. This was all silent. But the information went from eyes to brain as you read. And now just do that smoothly and engage it and practice with it. But everything here, this video is just you dabbling in speed reading and improving in memory. It takes repetition and consistency to see results. Just like anything, all right? I don't preach any get rich quick stuff. This is basic fundamentals of life. You got to put some energy into it. And that's it. I think we're at time.
I love it. David, this has been incredible. I've learned so much, and so has our audience. Where can our audience find out more about what you're doing?
Yeah, so you can go to reading for results with a number, or just follow me at David Reads Fast on Instagram. I'm most active there. I also have a YouTube channel, David Reads Fast as well. And pretty soon I'm putting out a free speed reading course. Pretty soon I'm pouring out everything in there because I just want to give. And you can, I really don't care. Even if you text me 512-618-4936 for that speed reading course, let me know.
Amazing. David, thank you so much for being a guest on the Stay on Course podcast.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.